Welcome back. All right, we are going to talk about the Calgary Flames. Now, the Calgary Flames are an interesting team. I've talked before about how Philadelphia, every other year they're good, every other year they're bad. Philadelphia was supposed to have their good year last year. Now it looks like they're having it this year instead. Crazy kids. But the Calgary Flames have kind of fallen into a similar pattern. And last year they had a great season. And, I mean, the expectations were high. I'm starting to think that for next season, when I'm trying to do, predicting, I should do a prediction based on historically this is what teams normally do. And the Flames falling back to earth is something that happened after the last year. They had a really good season and won their division. So they had a great start to the season. It was remarkable. First, they won at home against Colorado 5-3. Then they won at Edmonton 4-3. They won at home against Vegas 3-2. Vegas has lost two games this season. One of them's against the Flames. Then they lost 6-3 at home against Buffalo. Buffalo, red hot at the time. No shame in that. Then they won 3-2 in overtime against Carolina. That was another home game. And then at home, they beat Pittsburgh 4-1. So to start the season, that's a pretty strong run. 5-1 on the year. And they looked really good. And so what happened? They've just had no luck over their last 7 games. There isn't really a whole other way to put this. The other thing too, though, is it does feel like this Calgary Flames team is significantly different from last teams, and I think maybe there was an overestimation by some, myself included, on what this team would do despite the changes that were made. It's not as much about players being subtracted as just chemistry is always a big thing. So they lost 3-2 against the Oilers to start this losing streak. They led that game 2-1 after 2 periods, and they outshot the Oilers 42-26. Markstrom saved 23 out of 26 in that game. Markstrom's had his struggles against Edmonton. It happens. Their power play was 0 for 3. Their penalty kill was 3 for 4. So their special teams was a -1 in that game. That's a home game. And so they lost at home. And that's after they won at Edmonton. So, I mean, that evens up the season series, right? So we're still waiting for the third meeting between these teams. But so far, it's been an even run. Then they lost 5-4 against Seattle. And this is the more alarming loss. Because they led 4-2 in the third period, and then it was just gone. And for Seattle, a team that's currently sitting in a playoff spot. But let's be honest, Calgary should be able to beat Seattle at home. They outshot Seattle 40-26 in that game. Vladar had a rough game. 21 saves on 26 shots. Their power play goes 0 for 4. Their penalty kill was 3 for 4. And again, that's a loss at home. So those are back-to-back losses at home, both in regulation. And so again, it's concerning. The one that I really think became a sign that something's wrong in Calgary was the next one. So you can write off the Oilers' loss and say, you know what, Markstrom had that little issue behind the net, and then the puck ends up going in. These things happen. And so you can write that one off. Seattle, yeah, they blew a lead, but Seattle, look where they are in the standings, so it's okay. But this one here against Nashville, they lost 4-1, and they were down 3-0 after 2. And it was remarkable how good Nashville looked in this game when Nashville hasn't had a good season. The shots were 32-30 in favor of the Nashville Predators as well. So this is the first time in this losing streak where Calgary gets outshot. Markstrom saves 28 out of 31. The fourth was an empty netter. Their power play was 0 for 3. Their penalty kill went 3 for 4. So they've allowed a power play goal in every single game. And through most of this losing streak, that's been a problem. Their power play didn't connect at all. We're up to an 0-4-10 just during this losing streak. And again, that's at home. These are the games you need to be piling up the points. You have a homestand where you're against all these teams that are middling, whether it's Buffalo here, and again, I know they were hot at the time. Pittsburgh, who have had their struggles, right? You win that, and then you go into this and you're saying, okay, well, Seattle, that should be a win. Nashville should be a win. It's not. Now, New Jersey comes in, and again, to New Jersey's credit, hottest team in the league right now. Calgary loses in overtime 4-3. Zetterlund had the overtime winner on the power play. The shots were 35-30 in favor of New Jersey, which New Jersey's been out shooting teams regularly this year. So again, not a huge surprise. But that was a game that really just kind of got away from them. Markstrom saves 31 out of 35 in that one. Their power play goes 0 for 2. Their penalty kill 4 for 5. So again, the power play does not connect. The penalty kill allows a goal. There was 5 opportunities. But again, they've allowed a power play goal in every single game throughout the losing streak to this point. And again, that's a home game. So at the end of this, they've lost 4 in a row, that fourth one, of course, being an overtime loss. And it's, all right, well, they'll get out on the road and try to figure this out. And so, media reports were they're going to be glad to get away from home and figure this out on the road and all that talk about bonding experiences on the road with your teammates. And that can work. You look at the Arizona Coyotes right now, that can work. They're on a 14-game road trip, and they're playing like it. They're playing like, this is important, this could be our season, let's go out and win games. We don't care who drafts Connor Bedard. That's not our concern. We're going out there to win games and protect our jobs moving forward. So going into New York against the Islanders, this felt like an important game. And Calgary played like it was an important game, but they lose again in overtime 4-3. Dobson with the overtime power play goal. And so that's a problem. The shots were 46-32 for Calgary in that one. So they got goal lead in that one. Markstrom, 28 saves on 32 shots. Their power plays, they didn't have any, and the Islanders scored on one of their 2, and that's in the overtime. It was not a game that had a lot of power plays, just the 2 overall. And it's a road game. So they get a point against an Islanders team that has been playing pretty well. No shame in that. But then they go to New Jersey, a team that's already beaten them. They led 1-0 after the first. They still lost the game 3-2. The shots are 35-20 for Calgary. And the weird thing is, I think Calgary, of all of the games on this winning streak for the Devils, I think that that was the best that a team's played against New Jersey, but they still lose it. Markstrom saved 17 out of 20. Their power play connects. For the one time in this losing streak, they go 2 for 4, and their penalty kill was 4 for 5. So they got 2 power play goals, and they allowed 1, but they still lose the game. And again, it's on the road. So they didn't score 5-on-5. New Jersey shut them down well 5-on-5, and they get that victory. And then last night, against the Boston Bruins, they lost 3-1 even though they scored first. And they had a lead longer in Boston than anybody has in Boston's building all year. And then they lost it. They outshot Boston 32-28. I think they were better than Boston for large stretches of that game. Vladar played arguably his best game of the season, 25 saves on 27 shots. The power play, 0 for 6. Their penalty kill was perfect, 5 for 5. So this is important. Their penalty kill looks like it came through last night, but the power play did not. And so after having a good game against the Devils, it doesn't come through against the Boston Bruins. And if it had, they probably would have beaten Boston last night. And again, this is a road game. So they have 4 on the road, 4 at home, 3 on the road to make up this streak where they've been 0-5-2. Their upcoming schedule, it does not get easier. First, they're at home on Saturday against Winnipeg. They're at home on Monday against LA. And then it's a 6-game road trip. And this road trip is big. And it's not an easy road trip. First, on Thursday, they're at Tampa. And then Saturday, they're at Florida. So that should be the Tkachuk-Huberdeau matchup. We know Huberdeau's not in the lineup now. Will he be in the lineup by the time we get to that? He should be, but who knows? And then after that, they go to Philadelphia. They go to Pittsburgh. So those 2 Pennsylvania teams, you got a team in Philadelphia that's overperforming, team in Pittsburgh that's underperforming and already got beaten by Calgary once this year. And then Washington, who are desperately trying to stay in the hunt for a playoff spot, and Carolina, who just laid a 7-2 drubbing on the Edmonton Oilers last night. That's a tough road trip. And with the way Calgary's been playing, it's interesting because I could make the argument they outplayed the Oilers. Probably should have won that game. They outplayed Seattle. Probably should have won that game. I would say they outplayed the Devils in the second game they had against them. Should have won that one. They outplayed the Islanders. They outplayed Boston. But they're not getting the goals when they need them. And so it is a similar situation to what we've had going on with the Canucks, where they get leads and can't hold them, and you can argue they've been the better team in a lot of games they've lost, but standings don't care. You don't get extra points for doing pretty well, right? So when you look at their last 5 games, what stands out is this is a team that's all of a sudden short on star power. And Lindholm, 2 goals and an assist. It seems like he's picking things up a bit, but he's not picking things up to the point where he needs to in order for them to succeed. Kadri just has the 2 goals in the last 5 games. Mangiapane, just the 1 assist in the last 5 games. Toffoli with a goal and 2 assists. I think maybe their best forward over the 5-game run. Weegar, no points from the blue line for Mackenzie Weegar, and keeping in mind that Weegar and Huberdeau both signed long-term extensions with the Flames. And so, yeah, this is an interesting time. Vladar is 0-1 with a .926 save percentage. That is this game here. That's the only game he's played in the last 5. I think that after the loss against Seattle, I think he lost the confidence of Daryl Sutter. So 4 games in a row went to Markstrom. Markstrom, though, 0-2-2 during this run, at least in the last 5. In these 4 games, he was 0-2-2 with an 881 save percentage. So over the last 5 games, the numbers haven't been good from the goaltending. They're not getting enough scoring. And it just feels like the star power isn't quite where it should. Like, it feels like last year the Flames had this really good stacked roster. And yet I think it really comes down to chemistry. And I think that's what's missing from the Flames this year. Overall, Lindholm, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points in 13 games. That's not enough. It's not enough from Lindholm, and it's a sign that his line mates changed. I did think that there would be an adjustment period, but we're past that. We should be past that, right? Huberdeau, in 11 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. So at the time he got hurt, it looked like Huberdeau was starting to figure things out, but it's still, the production is not where you want it to be if you're the Flames. Mangiapane in 13 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. He's not producing the way that you would want him to if you're the Flames either. And what they lost in the offseason kind of comes back to haunt them here. Johnny Gaudreau, who's been good, not great for Columbus thus far. I think Gaudreau misses playing in Calgary, and I think vice versa is true as well. I know that fans don't like how Johnny left, but this team would have been better if Johnny stuck around, right? And I get it. He went to market and he opted to go to Columbus. And if you're a Flames fan, odds are you want his numbers in Columbus to be terrible, and Columbus misses the playoffs, and there you go. But I think it's really hurt the Flames, and Tkachuk being gone hurt too. Keep in mind, they could have signed Tkachuk for a year, and I understand that at the time people said, well, you're just kicking the can down the road. That's what the Jets did, and Dubois having a pretty good year, and the Jets are first in their division. So while for those of us who are watching from afar, we may look at a team and say, well, you've got to trade. You've got to do this. You got to do that, because if you don't, sometimes the smart move is, hold on to the player, which is the case of the Jets with Dubois. Get the most out of him you can. And for the Flames, I understand that Tkachuk wasn't going to stick around past that 1 year. Give him a year. Give him a year and talk to him about it and talk it through. And then, if you need to move him at the deadline, you can. Again, we're seeing a lot of guys who are on long-term extensions that have got off to underwhelming starts. That definitely does deserve a video its own as well. And so I think the loss of Gaudreau and Tkachuk is a huge factor here. That being said, the team that kind of fell apart the year after they won the West also had Tkachuk and Gaudreau on it. So there's no guarantee that the Flames wouldn't still be having their struggles if Gaudreau and Tkachuk had stuck around. It just feels like it's more pronounced without them. Monahan being gone, and that was a cap dump off to the Montreal Canadiens. Monahan's never going to be the player he was, say, 5 years ago, but it's a depth forward. And I think Montreal's been pretty happy with Monahan thus far. And Goodbranson. Goodbranson played really well on the Flames blue line. The Flames blue line right now is dealing with some injuries. They've got Shillington on the shelf. Stone is on the shelf. Tanev is on the shelf. And not having Chris Tanev absolutely hurts your blue line quite a bit. And as I said before, Huberdeau being out will affect the forward group. They're a good team when they play as a team. The chemistry, when it's on, the Flames look fantastic. That's the 5-1 start to the season. But when it's not quite on, and when you look at the scoring recently, the question that I have to ask is, who's going to pull this team out of this? So once they start getting the wins going again, is it going to be Markstrom getting back to being Markstrom? He had a career year last year. He did. He had a really, really strong season, and I had some concerns about whether or not he'd be able to follow that up. Goaltending's very unpredictable, so, right? But yeah, I think they need Markstrom to become a wall again, and they need somebody to step up and lead and drag this team out of this mess. Is it going to be Mangiapane going on a hot streak? Is it going to be a hard worker like Dubé, who goes out there and does his due diligence and gets a couple of goals and fires things up? Is it going to be Lucic hitting everything that moves, shooting 5-hole? Just last year he had goals shooting 5-hole, and it worked for him. Is something like that going to have to transpire? It is not an easy road coming up for Calgary, first at home and then going back on the road. And so, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. What do you think is going to have to happen for the Flames to get out of this slump? Which player is going to start putting the puck in the net? Because scoring has been a problem throughout this losing streak. And how do they turn that around? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.